The shooting range. In this episode, pages of history, the arduous path towards Leopard 2, Triathlon, sub-top-tier MBTs, and metal beasts, the updated American CFV. The American M3 Bradley cavalry fighting vehicle needs no introduction. In its years of service, it has become a workhorse as important as the Abrams tanks. Today, we're going to take a look at one of the latest modifications of this machine, the M3A3, found at a battle rating of 8.7. This version was created with the Gulf War experience in mind. With additional armor, modern electronics, and powerful weaponry, the Bradley stays a dangerous enemy even today. Its main firepower is a two-plane, stabilized 25mm autocannon with elevation angles between -9 and +59 degrees. In addition, it has a coaxial machine gun and anti-tank missiles. Both the gunner and the commander can use thermals. There's also the smoke launcher and the ESS available. The crew consists of 3 members, with the driver next to the engine compartment and the 2 others in the turret. The pride and glory of this machine is its armament. It can use 2 types of tow missiles to fight enemy tanks, the standard and the B modification that we call the Roof Crusher. And of course, we recommend taking the latter to battle. Why? Well, these missiles can ignore all those fancy ERA and composite types of armor, hitting the thin roof instead. You can also fire at its targets, and you can't see directly while hiding behind landscape features or buildings. Another great addition is the new belt full of APDS rounds with a penetration rate of 100mm at point-blank range. Perfect for close combat. With the autocannon, you can basically make your enemy look like a porcupine with your little darts, and some MBTs can be damaged even in the front. The armor is improved here too. It still can't withstand a tank round, but offers some protection against machine guns and autocannons. Thanks to a new 600 horsepower engine, the machine's mobility didn't suffer despite the added weight of the new armor and weapons. It won't dash around the battlefield, but a nice, comfortable cruise is guaranteed. On the battlefield, you should keep your machine behind friendly MBTs, performing as a support tank. Look for enemies with your thermal imager and mark them with the active scouting ability. We advise caution for one simple reason. The ATGM system has a little flaw. It takes some time to switch between travel and firing modes, so there's a high chance that any unexpected encounter with an enemy will end badly for you. Creating a tank takes a lot of time and money, especially when you want no less than the best tank in the world. So why would the Allies spend millions on creating their own machines when they can work together and create a single one, saving on the development and benefiting from standardization? That's what the United States and Western Germany probably had in mind in the early 1960s when they started a joint project called the MBT-70, or the KPZ-70 in German. By the time the first Leopard saw mass production, the engineers had already started developing an upgrade. The new tank was thought to become the best in everything. It would have a 1,500 horsepower engine, spaced armoring, adjustable suspension, and a 152mm autoloader gun with guided missile firing capabilities. The whole crew, including the driver, was moved to the turret to make the tank's profile lower. So the blueprints looked like the machine was way ahead of its time. Soon, it met with issues, however. The unification idea was not working out. The Americans proposed an air-cooled diesel engine, while the Germans wanted a liquid-cooled one. The US wanted the 152mm gun, while Germany insisted on implementing the promising 120mm one. They couldn't reach an agreement on the suspension either, so, owing to the extremely sophisticated design, the tank turned out to be ludicrously expensive. The budget was exceeded, get this, 5 times over, and Germany could not afford mass production anymore, so they quit. They couldn't completely discard the project, though, could they? Of course, the Germans had allowed for that possibility, so they'd started another project beforehand. The terms of the contract they'd signed with the US stated they couldn't develop any new tanks parallel to the KP-Z70. So the new project was being carried out under the guise of updating the old Leopard. The new machine was named Leopard 2K, or Keiler, which means boar in German language. It did get the spaced armoring and the 1,500 horsepower engine the Americans did not want. By the early 1970s, a test batch of 16 tanks had been built. Around the same time, the Germans signed a new contract with the Americans working on the future Abrams. The States were interested in the German diesel engine and the 120mm gun, while the Germans were studying American designs and even conducted joint tests with the XM-1 prototype. There was one last step towards mass production of the Leopard 2. The Yom Kippur War proved that it needed better armor. So, the Germans went ahead and redesigned the hull, adding a new turret with composite armor. After this long history of development, the Germans had finally produced a really good tank. It even showed a slightly better performance in tests than the Abrams, and the Americans were considering getting a production license for a while. You guessed it. That's a story for another time. We've already clashed both the top and the early MBTs, so now it's time to have a test of something in between, like those with a BR of 9.7. Please welcome the American M60 AMBT, the German Leopard 2K we've just finished describing in the pages of history, the Soviet T-72B, the TTD representing Great Britain, the ZTZ-96A for China, the Ariete P from Italy, and the French AMX-40. Oh, sorry guys, the AMX-40. As is tradition, we'll start with testing the mobility of our contestants. Crews at the ready. Go! The French tank gains the lead right away. The German Leopard breathes at its rear, with the Italian and the American ones closely behind. Other participants can't catch up. The desert increases the gap between the leaders and the rest. The snowy patch makes the M60 slow down and puts it to 4th position. The marsh slows everyone down, of course, but no change of position is seen. Finally, the finish line. The French AMX finishes first, then the German Leopard, and then the Ariete. The 4th place is suddenly stolen by the TTD. It shows a better maximum speed on an even surface, but for a big lead, it could have entered the top 3. Now, let's check their armor. We'll be shooting some 105mm APF-SDS rounds at them from 1 kilometer away. The M60, the Leopard, and the AMX-40 were penetrated right away. The only reason they could survive the first hit was their larger interior space. The British representative seems to be doing a little better. The TTD's hull is just as easy to penetrate, but the turret's edges can sometimes stop the round. The Italian participant shows a similar performance. Thanks to some good sloping, the turret's cheeks can survive a few shots. The Chinese crew enjoys a better protection level since most of their tank's upper glacis is covered with reactive armor that prevents penetration. The only vulnerability on their turret is the mantlet. Still, the lower glacis is a disappointment. It's so large you can find it in your sights, even at a long distance. And the winner here is the Soviet tank. Its upper glacis and turret cheeks are protected by composite armor capable of deflecting the 105mm APF-SDS, and the hull is covered in reactive armor blocks. Well, now it's time our contestants practice their shooting. For targets, we'll take the Soviet Tunguska SPAAG at 500 meters away and the top German MBT, the Leopard 2A6, at 3 kilometers away. The participants will be able to get closer to the tank after destroying their first target. Ammo's loaded. Open fire! The Leopard and the AMX-40 are the first to handle the SPAAG. Their 20mm autocannons basically saw the light machine in halves in a matter of seconds. The others have to employ their main guns. The French tank destroys the tank with the first shot, thus finishing the leg. The German crew encounters an issue, so they have to get a little closer while reloading. The Arietta crew is the first to finish their reload, destroying the second target right away. Next to report mission accomplished are the Americans. Their APF-SDS saw no problem in either of their targets. Then we see the British crew destroy their targets, while the Soviet and the Chinese crew lag behind, taking more time to reload. Let's sum up. The third place goes to the German Leopard for its excellent mobility and 20mm autocannon turret. The silver medal is shared by the Arietta and the M60. The Italian machine shows great mobility and reload speed, while the American one has a variety of auxiliary systems and top-level APDS rounds. And the winner today is the French AMX-40, for a combo of great mobility and exceptional firepower. On to your questions now. The first question was sent by a player called TubeSocks101. I hope they're not like mine. How big a difference is there between different types of ammo used when playing as a fighter aircraft? Hi there! Belt choice depends on your guns, of course, but here's the rule of thumb. AP bullets are best for frontal attacks. They damage engines, go through armor, and incapacitate the pilots. HE rounds are preferable when shooting at the enemy's wings, for instance, in dogfights. Pug asks, can you do a climbing the ranks with helicopters? Hi Pug, helicopter research trees don't have as much variety and numbers as tank or air trees yet. For a fully researched tree, you often need all of a nation's machines, so it's a little bit hard to say which one would be better or worse for the process. You can always watch other videos about helicopters though, like the triathlons. Another question comes from Mugenman88. The A2D-1 seems to be in such an awkward range, finding itself against both late props and early jets. What's a good way to deal with both in the Sky Shark? Hey there! The A2D's battle rating is indeed pretty high for a prop plane, but it's justified by its specs. Its maximum speed far exceeds those of any other prop fighters, and even those of some early jets. Its climb rate is also high, coupled with some good guns and a lot of ammo. Hence, the air battle tactic: climb high, start spraying your guns at the enemies. What's the difference if they prop or jet planes then? Mariano Gianni writes, any planes to make HE shells damage the enemy crew a little bit just like in real life? Hello, Mariano. We've actually reworked the HE rounds only recently. The game can now emulate a new type of effect: blast overpressure. It completely changed the way large caliber HE rounds behave, so be sure to check it out. And the last comment for today was written by Boris the Spider Gaming. Is there any AMX family video? Ooh, creepy crawly. Hello, Boris. Yes, we have a video just about that. It's called French MBTs, but that basically is the AMX family. No more from me, guys. I can frighten you all for weeks with that sound. And that's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time in spite of clock changes. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget to hide your roof if you spot a Bradley. Leave a like if you dare, and share your thoughts and comments below, because we really do want to hear them. So, I'll see you next week if all goes well and Boris's web does not stop me. Bye!